guys ever said anything on the podcast that have surprised each other? Like, I know, Ian, you said something about, like, acid when they found the meth in the Sega Genesis system.
Oh, I didn't actually find the meth in the Genesis system. That was an article.
Yeah, not you, but you said you hid your 10 strips and...
Oh, I hid my 10 strips in an NES.
The question real quick is, have we say something that has surprised each other?
I don't think me doing acid would have surprised Pat in any way, shape, or form.
I'm surprised he's not doing it right now.
You just seemed surprised when he said that.
It's not. It's just the fact that it's like, okay, Ian dropped acid, sure, but saying 10 strips to me, it's like, oh, okay, that means he's ready to have a nice weekend.
Yeah.
At that point, that's like one level up from I just do acid. Oh, I'm a hardcore acid user. Then again, are there any mild acid users that exist? I guess not. Actually, Frank probably would qualify.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done that since probably the 70s.
I haven't done it in fucking 15 years.
What have I said that surprised you ever?
That you like me from time to time?
I don't know if that's mean or sweet and charming, or a little bit of both. What a surprise! Something that you said.
No,
I know. When you casually just threw out, "Hey, it's a new millennium," you casually threw out that you were wearing dresses at some event in high school or something. Do you remember that?
I've dressed up I've dressed up in women's clothing before.
But the way you just sort of like slid it in, like to the conversation.
I'm not really embarrassed about anything that I've
But what
done.
was it? Was it like a school event or was it?
No, I just did it for fun one night.
Oh, okay. See, it wasn't a school event. You just did it for fun. Okay.
Yeah, it's just,
That's surprising.
It's just for shits and giggles.
We never got to that point in our relationship to share that information before. That's all. Let's see. You stir in the hat. Is that also a Pat the Indian Punk wristband?
Yes, sir.
All right. You need to buy a Pat the Indian Punk wristband and ask the question.
I'm sensing bias.
I didn't even see it.
So my question is, any plans to put, like, say, Frank or maybe James on the CU podcast? Any plans or ideas?
Are there any plans to bring a guest like Frank or James onto the CU podcast?
Or bring Frank to a con?
Or bring Frank to a con. We'll start with the first one. Ian is more against having guests on the podcast than I am, I think, in principle.
It's just because, I was at first, we both were, and at this point, for so long, we haven't. And I honestly think Pat and I have fallen into a comfortable format for the podcast.
We're like a couple that's been together for 8 years. On a Saturday night, we just get a pizza and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
And don't touch each other.
Basically. And I just don't know that. I don't know that a guest would fit into the format well. It's not that there aren't people that wouldn't be fun to talk to and have, but I just think it would be too weird at this point.
I think it wouldn't have to be the whole podcast. I'd say you do like a 15, 20-minute segment interview. I think you could handle that.
Yeah.
Can you handle that, buddy?
Maybe.
Get you out of your comfort zone. I think that'd be fine because other podcasts do guests or they do radios, obviously do interviews. And I've done a couple of interviews. I've done Breno Floss. Not literally, haven't done them. I've interviewed Breno Floss. And I've interviewed Mike Matei. Don't want to start rumors out there. That N64 guy will start ranting about me having sex with random YouTubers. So that threw me off. We'll see what happens. I will say this, though. The podcast might go weekly in the future. There's a possibility. It's not set in stone. Hey, let's clap. Let's do mild clapping. And if that's the case, if Ian's not there some weeks, maybe I can get someone, if Ian doesn't get jealous, I can get someone to help do the podcast. Not that I can't do it myself, but it's oh, the crowd's turning on me now. Well, let's Ian's self-esteem just rise up. All right, no wristband. You, sir, on the end.
I'm with the game department at George Mason University. We have a lot of students come in constantly that have gone through YouTube or gone through you guys and kind of curated a knowledge of older games through that. How do you guys view your podcast in an educational perspective?
How do we view our podcast in an educational perspective? A poor one. There's no structure to our education. We just throw out shit, random Danny Sullivan Indies Heat reference every other podcast.
Cum jokes.
Yes.
When people come up to me and say they've learned so much through the podcast, it's really cool. But I mean, while Pat and I obviously want to inform people, it's not like the structure of the podcast. It's not like we sat down and said we want this to be informative. But I think through Pat's background in YouTube and hardcore collecting and my background in retail, I think whether we mean to or not, we probably throw out a lot of information that clues people into aspects of that sort of culture that they might not have known about before.